going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Now today, hey, we've got the man Cricket Raz, the absolute legend over there. Once again, he's got a new video. Well, firstly, original link in the description. Go show the man Cricket Raz all the love in the world. Support the man. He's got these great episode documentary like it's... I inspire to have content like this, great man. But we've got Revenge of the Carribean. When the king was hit on the head, Australia, I don't know why I said it like that, versus the West Indies, the great man Sir Vivian Richards. If you guys are new, subscribe, leave a like, comment down below, comment anything. Let's get into it.
Oh, nasty blow, nasty blow.
Viv Richards has just got hit on his jaw. Hogg is now staring him down. And the players of both the teams are now watching Viv with bated breaths.
You don't know what he will do next.
This is the effect. Today's story is about the cause. A bouncer. A ball or tool, a weapon whose aftermath, the 1 second after it has been balled, that can determine the course of an entire match. Today we tell the story of one such bouncer that in the end showed a bouncer is just like any weapon. It can cut both ways. 1975. A young West Indian team has just landed in Australia. Now when I say young, I do mean young. Most of the players playing were either playing their first or the second tour. But just a few months back, the same young team had willed itself to lift the World Cup, defeating Australia in the finals. So, this series was being seen as the unofficial World Championship bout, a battle for the title of the best team in the world. Clive Lloyd's with his young bucks on one side and the dangerous bowling lineup
Clive Lloyd, seriously, what an absolute legend.
of Lilly and Thompson on the other.
DK,
It was
Jeff
to be
Thompson.
a battle of the ages.
Yo, hold on, last pause of the video, but I'm going back to that dismissal. I think it was Jeff Thompson with that
And the dangerous bowling lineup
Look at this.
of Lilly and Thompson on the other. It was to be a battle of the ages.
Yo!
And as the first match started, as the Young Bucks playing in Australia for the first time took the field, they were greeted with the chants of Lilly, Lilly, kill, kill, kill.
Jesus.
What happened next was nothing short of a massacre. Taking wickets, winning the match, all that was an afterthought. What was more important was to show the World Cup winners their rightful place. In Australian eyes, that World Cup was nothing more than a fluke. And somebody had to be punished for taking away what was rightfully theirs. So, the Australian pacers entered the field armed with a lethal weapon. The bouncer.
Jeff Thompson, like, obviously I know a lot about Jeff Thompson. I've seen plenty of highlights, obviously. Man, dangerous, like, just dangerous bowling, man. That action, that wily action, just like grabbing the ball from the back and just fucking letting it rip is genuinely so scary.
Head, ribs, legs,
Like,
fingers,
nah, man.
everything was a valid target. Players after players
Like that,
kept
I
on
think that was
falling,
Jeff there. That is just
screaming in
ridiculous.
agony
Like,
as
there's
they
nothing you can
fell
do
to their
about that.
knees. The test match had suddenly become a boxing match.
Thank God helmets
The
became a
batsman
thing.
having to duck, weave, sway, hook, pull, do whatever it was necessary
Good keeping,
just to
actually.
survive. However, very few did.
Yeah.
Their exciting new youngster Greenwich was so crushed by this onslaught that he had to be dropped midway through the series. He later went on to say that 1975 tour was a personal nightmare. So painful that I have spent my life since trying to erase it from my memory.
Yo, that's
By
crazy.
the end, the West Indian players weren't thinking about winning the match,
Just
or
surviving.
scoring runs, or even saving the wicket. They were just trying to avoid getting hit.
Yo.
Just as the Australian had done at the start,
Oh
winning
my
was
God,
an afterthought
man.
at that point. West Indies lost the series 5-1. But much worse than that, Australia, with their bouncers, had crushed the West Indian team psychologically.
Yo.
The entire team lay shattered, their confidence lost.
If anything, this video might even be about that, but it kind of feels like this series might have just like blown a little fuse in the West Indies, which kind of then led their up-and-coming onslaught with their legendary teams of the early 90s and late 80s and stuff like that. This might have been the thing that just said to West Indies, like, all right, we've learned from Australia. They just completely just gave no Fs about our well-being and said, we'll do anything to win. I think maybe the West Indies probably took a little bit from this series and said, yeah, F that. That's the team we're going to become now. Ambrose, I mean, that's a good start to start with their bowlers.
Their kinship.
God, so
blown
many,
apart.
I mean, we could name, but...
And it showed. The very next series, as they played India at home, they would be picked apart by the Indians. The West Indians were champions no more. And it was then,
Damn, that was my type of shot
as
right
his
there.
team failed to save a target of 400, that the captain, Clive Lloyds, made a decision.
Don't you dare step down, Clive.
Bowlers. He would create a battery of pace bowlers. Bowlers
Dangerous.
who could put fear into the Australian team that had destroyed them. So, in the very next match, he would go to the field with 4 pace bowlers with the same directive that the Australians had got. Forget about wickets. Destroy them. What happened next was a taste of what was to come for the next 15 years.
Yes, I was right.
It was the first step in the creation of a team that would dominate world cricket for the next decade.
For the next
And
20
as
years.
this new bowling attack
Next
was taking
25
shape,
years, I'd say.
one other person standing on the sidelines had a transformation of his own. Vivian Richards.
Sir Viv.
Years later, people would go on to say that that Australian tour was the coming of age for Viv Richards. He saw his teammates crumbling under the Australian onslaught. The psychological pressure doing much more damage than any ball ever could.
Oh, Jeff, what a
It
ball.
was the first time he realized the importance of mindset. The mindset with which you play the game, the mindset with which people see you, and the mindset with which people want to destroy you. And through that, we would go on to perfect his persona. Walking onto the field with his trademark swagger, leisurely chewing a gum as he stared down the bowler, taking his time as he got to the crease, wearing only a cap while facing bowlers that could knock his head off. It was his challenge to the world at large. I am standing right here.
What a beast, man.
Hurt me if you can.
Even when he walked through the gate, coming out on the field,
Alan Border?
the game changed, had a different feel to the way the game was progressing. He had an aura and a presence and a swagger when he came out to the crease.
And
Woo!
as the years passed
Good shot.
by,
It's my type of
Viv,
shot.
along with his entire
Nice.
team, continued to develop this new mindset. And it soon came the time for the next World Cup.
That's
In preparation for which
78?
West Indies once again landed on the shores of Australia.
Ooh.
It was the first visit back here after the 1975 humiliation.
81?
But by this time, Australia had secured its place as the #1 team in the world.
Oh, good
And even though
ball.
they had heard the
Damn.
growing buzz about the West Indian bowling
Oh.
attack, that was against other teams. This time they were facing them, the Australians. And standing in front of them were mostly the same faces that they had disfigured back in 1975. So, all they had to do was just remind them of that nightmare, and the West Indians would fall apart, just like before.
Oh, would they?
Come the first test, what greeted them?
And he's off the mark right away. Flicked it away, hit it pretty hard too. That's 4 runs.
West Indians were that team no more. They stood with their back straight, taking on the challenge. The entire test devolved into a closely fought match, which most of the time leaned towards the West Indians. And even though it ended in the draw in the end, it was seen as an insult. Australians were the best team in the world at the time. You don't just walk into their lair and draw a match. So, come the second match, the Australians would come out all guns blazing, specifically targeting that one batsman who had nearly single-handedly blasted their entire bowling apart. Viv Richards, the man of the match of the first test. So, right on the first day itself, in came Hogg and did this.
Oh,
Nasty blow, nasty blow.
yo, nah, that is breaking jaw right there.
Viv was hit on the head.
Nah, man.
The player who had come to symbolize the West Indian spirit had taken a fall. Everybody on the pitch, everybody in the pavilion suddenly had a flashback to 4 years ago, to that humiliating destruction that had started the very same way. The nightmare had been rekindled, and the reaction that we would have now, it might as well decide the entire series. Forget about the series. In future, people would come to say that half a second after we've got hit, that may have decided the crown of cricket.
Man,
The
did you
half
guys
a
see
second.
where that hit him?
After which Viv did this.
Ah,
cannot afford to let your opposition know when you're ahead. They stand up and they look you in the eye and they'll look back, and we have this little steering match for a while. You know when you would have got the better of them. By the time they turn around, they pass the umpire and they get back to their mark, they will take a little look around again to see if you're still looking. I'll be still looking.
Viv just kept staring.
That's
You may
some
think that he
alpha
didn't do
shit
much here.
right there.
What's the big deal? But years later, the bowler would go on to say that it was like watching a horror movie where you keep on filling the enemy full of bullets.
And they keep coming
And
back.
yet,
Yep.
they keep coming at you. Hawk and his entire team was searching for fear in Vivian's eyes. And what they found was defiance.
Never going to get that out of the man, Viv.
Defiance and disregard. Disregard for the best team in the world. Disregard for one of the best bowlers in the world. And this made Hawk angry. He turned on the very next ball and bowled another bouncer.
Smack! Straight for four, baby. Oh no,
The
6!
next 15
Okay.
minutes would be spent
Oh.
on destroying Hawk in every way imaginable.
Come on,
Hawk would
Hoggy.
bowl just 5 more overs in this match, each of which would be hit for 10 runs.
That's 50 runs.
After which Hogg had to
right,
retire
what a
hurt
match.
due to a sprained back. He would not return back to the pitch for nearly a year after this incident.
Damn!
But his one bouncer would have a price to pay. Because
we
suddenly,
lose?
the entire West Indian bowling lineup, a lineup that would later be known as the fearsome foursome, all of them had their floodgates opened. Everything that the Australians had done to them 4 years back, it was paid back in full. Every hit,
deserved.
every
I mean,
ache, every broken bone was accounted for. By the time the onslaught was done, the Australians had lost 2 back-to-back matches.
Damn!
West Indies had won a test series on Australian land for the very first time.
Bro, and you see how everyone just like jumps on the field after the win? Like, I miss when like sport used to be like this. Like, you could just jump on the fucking field after the game finishes and get around the cricketers, give them high fives, you know, a little fucking smack on the ass or something like that. You know, obviously you're not doing that to Sir Viv Richards because he'll probably beat the shit out of you, but man, sport used to just be about competitive and just the sport. Now it's obviously, you know, a lot of more things have been added. Money is the big one, but
And Viv Richards, while earning a groin, leg and back injury due to the retaliatory Australian response, he had went on to score 396 runs in just 4 innings, an average of 96.5.
yo,
At the end of the tour, the crown had changed hands. They would soon go on to win another World Cup and they would continue to dominate Test cricket for the next 15 years.
Yep.
But it was in this series that cricket in its entirety learned a very important lesson. A bouncer is an amazing weapon.
it has to be used
But like
properly.
any weapon, it cuts both ways. And there are people out there who specialize in turning your weapon against you.
Hey, that's a good.
Thank you for watching this video.
Hey, shout out to the man Cricket Raz. Like, every time he does any episode like this, like, it is honestly like watching small like Netflix episode documentaries. It's crazy. Netflix, get this man a job, or Amazon Prime, Disney, any of the media outlets. Get this man a job. He is literally going to make your sales go from here to there. Just someone hire the man. But hey, what a great video, and that's what the West Indies did. It's what they still do. It's what they try to do now. I know that a lot of West Indian team now, they try to emulate, you know, the teams of the past, but cricket has changed so much since then. You know, West Indies were always known for that fiery bowling, fiery team. amazing batsmen who could, use their power to just smack the ball to anywhere, which they're still like that, but their bowling has definitely fallen apart. There's no doubt about that. Their bowling lineup is just falling apart. Their batting lineup, it's a lot of hit and miss right now, so they'd probably be better off bringing back this old West Indian team to get some advice, or maybe just put a bunch of 80-year-olds out there on the pitch and they'll still be better than Odin Smith, etc., etc. So hey, that will cap it off. I hope we all enjoyed, and I'll see everyone in the next one.